Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Dr. Sajeev Nair, who is the founder of Vieroots, which is a D2C brand for health, wellness, and nutrition. Hi, Dr. Sajeev. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Priya. Glad to be part of this all overall conversation.
So, Dr. Sajeev, to start with, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your early life, how in anything before entrepreneurship. So, where did you study? Where all did you work? And how did you think of starting something of your own?
Yeah, so the journey has been interesting. Though in the last 20 years, I have been completely into the space of health and wellness. But I started my journey in sales after my management graduation. So I'm also a master's in analytical chemistry, and after that, I did my master's in business management, and then I started my career in sales with completely diverse kind of industries, like whether it is the consumer electronics. I had a short stint with pharmaceutical industry, which gave me a lot of experience because my analytical chemistry background and management background, which really helped. And I think in 2000 was the year in which I started my entrepreneurial journey. Selling nutritional supplements. That point of time, nutritional supplement was a new thing in Indian market. New means it is not there at all.
Okay.
There's no category at all. Category was born in, I think, 2004 when the nutraceutical bill was passed. So that point of time itself, 2000 itself, I was selling nutraceuticals. That's my starting point. And But I understood that the entire wellness, if we are providing wellness or if we are talking about wellness, is more than nutraceutical. So I partnered with a doctor and we started a wellness clinic way back in 2003, 4. Maybe one of those first wellness clinics which ever happened in India. And we were the first one to bring in nutritional IV way back in 2005. At that point of time, nobody had any idea about nutritional IVs. Now, nutritional IVs have become very common. People go to different clinics, take vitamin C IVs, vitamin B IVs, cocktails, and all those kinds of stuff. But that point of time, it was very, very new. And I think maybe we were one of the first ones to bring in genetic testing to India in 2006, 7. That point of time, Indian genetic labs were not testing for predisposition. That means to analyze the risk, not specific to a disease condition. It is not a treatment oriented; it's a preventive.
Mhm.
So we were actually bringing those kits from Canada and we're doing it. So that has been my journey. But in 2016, 17, along with that, one interesting thing is that I have been into the field of peak performance coaching and training for the last 20 years, along with this. So I've been doing a lot of peak performance conventions. Maybe millions of people must have attended my events,
Wow.
and not just in India, in Middle East also. So that has been right. So 2016, 17 was the time when I started kind of concepts like peak performance, mainly because I was nearing my 50. So I thought, how can I enhance my energy levels and perform at peak levels post 50s? So that made me to get a deep dive into the subject of human longevity, age reversal, slowing down of aging and all, and which made me to end into the concept of biohacking. And
Mhm.
I was really fascinated about those concepts of biohacking, where scientists are very profoundly making statements saying that death is going to be optional. You know, um, the child who is going to live more than 1,000 years already born. These kind of statements, that's quite inspiring. And when you check about those statements, there is profound science behind it. Whether it is genetics supported by AI, and all those kinds of data we capture from the wearables and combined, I think there is a lot can be done. So that's where I decided that there a lot can be done in this space. And in 2000, we started this company called Vieroots. My co-founder is my son who completed his management. He wanted to get into a startup. So, or rather, he was thinking about doing a startup. And then we had a discussion. I was showing him the entire possibilities, and he was also fascinated. So
Mhm.
Aditya became co-founder. We started this. in 2000. So that has been journey, and we are totally focused on providing personalized lifestyle modification programs. So the Vieroots brand, if you look at it, it revolves around one core theme, which is human performance optimization. How can you create optimized humans? That's what we are looking at,
Mhm.
and which is possible right now, mainly because you have enough data which is available now, starting from your genetic data up to your sleep data. Everything is available. It's handy now. So what we are looking at is, with the support of AI and medical experts, we're compiling this data and providing highly personalized lifestyle modification programs which can help people to live long and stay healthy and be productive and contributing to the best to the society. So that's what Vieroots doing now.
Got it. Can you tell us a little bit about the personas, the kind of typical people that you target to? So the way I see it, it is not that it's not a mass market product or solution that you have developed, because not everybody have come to a stage where they care about, or at least they can spend on things like longevity and nutrition supplements and those sort of things. So they're struggling with the basic requirements. So I think so can you tell us about what kind of personas you are targeting?
Yeah, I think Priya, I think if you look at it, whether it's a mass market or a niche market, when I would rather say that whom we are targeting for anyone who is into the performance space. Anyone who wanted to enhance their performance and live longer and stay healthy, they are all our target market, I would rather say.
Mhm.
So be it the artists, be it the entrepreneurs, be it the sports persons, be it the anyone who is concerned about their performance, and they think that they wanted to perform at their peak, even at any stages in their life, not just post 50s, even the 30s and 40s. We are seeing that there is a performance erosion which is happening right now because of the lifestyle factors.
Mhm.
So people are, there are simple things like people are sleeping very late and waking up late, and then they are feeling kind of tired and fatigued. From there on, you have even certain genetic factors which are actually creating problems in terms of their lifestyle qualities. So, if you ask me whom we are targeting those people who are really, really focused on performance. Be it the artist or the entrepreneur or the employee or anybody for that matter.
And how do you reach out to them? How do you, first of all, create awareness? How do you educate them before they can, number one, trust you, and then, come and get the solution from you?
You're right. This requires a lot of education because it's a new thing. Because not many people know that they can optimize their body and their brain. That's what we are actually doing, optimizing your body and your brain and the mind using science and technology, using science and scientific processes which are proven evidence based.
Mhm.
Now, what we are doing is that we are using digital media in a big way in to educate people on this aspect of how they can enhance their performance and optimize their body and their brain. And also we have a kind of a B2B arrangement with like-minded functional medicine doctors and functional medicine practitioners, coaches. They already cater to a bunch of clients, but at the same time they are also looking for highly personalized solutions. So for instance, I'll just give you an example. We have an AI-based health assistant which we provide to the health and wellness practitioners.
Mhm.
So on one side, we do a program called Epigenetic Lifestyle Modification Program, which is based on a very, very detailed genetic predisposition test, where we analyze or we actually test for more than 275 health conditions, and more than 1,000 genes are being tested. In fact, the most comprehensive genetic predisposition test right now available in the country. And along with that, we make the people go through a metabolic assessment. And then our experts have been compiling this data and correlating this data and coming out with a lot of inferences. Like, suppose when you do a genetic predisposition test, you may come to know that you have a higher risk for a X disease. that information is not going to help you, because that can only scare you. So
Right.
what we specialized in is you are carrying that particular gene variant which can express as a particular disease. Now you don't have that disease only because that gene is yet to be expressed. So genes are loaded guns. They need to be triggered. So we always work towards finding out the trigger. What could be the trigger which can, in future, trigger that gene so that that disease get expressed, and we block the trigger. So this is our expertise. How do we block the trigger? Through lifestyle modification. That's what we call it as epigenetic lifestyle modification. This is what we have been doing for the last 4 years. And we have done more than 10,000 cases in India through this program. And so compiling this data, now the machine has learned and it has become intelligent. So we have a generative AI, which gives you a lot of information. Once you have your data, we process your data, genetic data and the metabolic data, and then you can ask any type of questions. And especially if it goes in the hand of a clinician or a coach or a practitioner, they can give very, very, very personalized, very highly personalized healthcare or lifestyle or medical recommendations to that client. So that is what we are actually deriving at as a very, very unique proposition, and which people are, even this AI works almost like a health concierge. Suppose if Priya wants to travel, if Priya is traveling to, suppose, Vietnam, and you want to know that what kind of dishes is good for you from your genetic and metabolic profile, the AI can tell you that.
Got it. And you spoke about AI, and similar to AI, there is another technology called blockchain, and you have been doing some interesting work there. So can you tell us how, number one, what kind of work you are doing, and how does it link to the existing ventures that you have built?
Yeah, when we were working on Vieroots, and we were seeing a lot of practitioners were getting quite interested about what we do, because they can provide highly personalized recommendations to and support to their clients. We found that there is a possibility that these kind of practitioners, because wellness is a very fragmented domain, unlike the medical industry. The wellness is a very, very fragmented domain, and everybody is in their own silos. So Ayurvedic doctor thinks that's ultimate. The naturopath thinks that that's the ultimate. The yoga practitioner says that you don't require to do anything else. You just need to do yoga. So they are all in different silos. So we thought, why not we bring them together, and with the support of technology and AI, they can provide highly personalized recommendations. That too, they can collaborate with other streams, other domains. So that's where we thought, how about building a decentralized protocol? Because when you have that kind of people who are all having different thought process, it's very difficult to bring into a kind of an aggregator model, there'll be a lot of conflicts. So here we found that the best model is something like a decentralized kind of a platform where everyone creates their own kind of communities, and then they can actually, the health seekers can go and find out whomever they want to seek, get advice from, and the providers can take their own route. And interestingly, what we have built along with that, we are also bringing in the institutions also onto this platform. This platform is called LIMOverse. So on this platform, the institutions like wellness resorts, wellness centers, they're all getting on board on the platform. So health seekers get a lot of opportunity to find out from what kind of service from where I should be taking. Now, the interesting part is where we found the blockchain very interesting is, one is it's decentralized and everybody can do their own things. Number two is we built a very strong reward mechanism inside this ecosystem. Because, whatever we talk about, when we talk about lifestyle diseases or reversing aging or whatever it is, it requires a lot of lifestyle modification, which is nothing but behavioral changes. For a human being to make behavioral changes, you need to be rewarded. You need to be incentivized. Only if you're incentivized, you will do something. Otherwise you will go in the same route.
Okay.
And now we built some very, very exciting reward programs inside this ecosystem, whereby we say that, okay, you reduce your biological age by every 1 year you are reducing your biological age, you are being rewarded with certain utility tokens, which we call it as LIMO tokens. So the interesting part is that using the LIMO tokens, they can avail the services inside the ecosystem. So it becomes a kind of a all-inclusive kind of an ecosystem. And we also got this tokens listed in the crypto exchanges. If they want to sell the tokens and monetize, they can do that too. So it's a very interesting, and this is the first of its kind in the world when it comes to a highly utility-based token from the health and wellness ecosystem.
Got it. So now a few questions around entrepreneurship. So you have been entrepreneur for quite some time now, and you've been managing multiple ventures now into health and wellness, blockchain, and I think you have been a chief curator at World Biohack Summit, and you have been consulting other ventures as well, if I'm correct. So tell us, how do you find time and energy to do all this at a age that you are at?
Priya, it's all about finding the right kind of resources. So no one person in the world can do everything, because and you cannot be an expert in everything. People talk about multitasking and all those kinds of stuff. But I think you can be an expert in one thing at a time. At a time, maybe after 3 or 4 years, you wanted to get into some new space and you wanted to explore that. Yes, of course, you can actually get into that, not a problem. But at the point of time, your focus can only be in one thing. So for me, there used to be a time my focus used to be in human transformation, like doing events, doing massive transformational events and all those kinds of stuff. Um, the consulting business, the business consulting business came out of that. People who started getting transformed, their thought process got transformed. They came back and said that, sir, we need to get our business re-engineered. That is where the business consulting part came in.
Mhm.
Now, after that, when I was totally focused on health and wellness as my main domain, and which has been there in the last 10 years. I have been totally focused. By the time the other businesses have already been automated, or I would rather say that it is being empowered by their own CEOs. So every company, whenever I build a company, I will make sure that I get the right kind of resources to lead, and I trust them. I trust them. I give them full responsibility. I know that most of the organizations, they struggle mainly because the people whom you actually bring in into the organization, you give them responsibility and you don't give them authority, so they cannot
Mhm.
function. So
Right.
I work the other way around. Sometimes they may make mistakes. So initially, you may have to do some hand holding. Sometimes they may make mistakes, but you'll have to go with that. You'll have to take that risk. People think that it's when you think about any venture or an entrepreneur, you have to take risk. That risk is not in just terms of investment. The
Mhm.
risk is also in terms of investing on people.
Okay.
Sometimes it work, sometimes it may not work. So that's something which is based on your judgment and the kind of assessment you make on your core team.
Got it. And has there been any roadblocks or big challenges that you have seen in your long journey of entrepreneurship, and how did you overcome them?
See, I've always been an innovator, and I always wanted to get into zones which are unknown, kind of an adventurist. So always there will be challenges because you know and sometimes it will be something like which you may see a lot of inhibitions from the other people, in the sense that it takes some time to convince the stakeholders about it. When you are talking about new things, that's the only thing what I always find. So it depends on your articulation skill, and also definitely the way you can actually convince your stakeholders, whether it is your core team or whether it is even the government even. So that's something which I have seen, because my challenge I always seen is that I most of the things whatever I have done and I'm doing is at least about 3 to 5 years ahead of times.
Mhm.
So so it's that's a challenge, yeah, because in the small and medium scale enterprises sector, that is the SMEs, micro, small, and enterprise, medium scale enterprises, there were no organized, structured organization which was doing management consulting. I'm talking about 2008. So
Right.
that's the time we started a company called Brahma, which is a first ever structured, organized consulting firm in the micro, small, and medium scale. Now, when we started Vieroots, there was nothing called AI-powered lifestyle modification program. So
Mm.
maybe after 3 years, there may be many other companies. The only thing is that it takes some time for people to understand. So it's a pain which any innovator, stroke creator goes through. Yeah.
Got it. And this is my final question. Tell us about what have you learned about entrepreneurship that others can take away and probably apply to their ventures. So many of the people who jump into entrepreneurship, they do it for money. They think that there is a lot of scope to make money. But in my personal experience, I have seen that it's not actually true. Only 1% of entrepreneurs make it big, but there are a lot of it's just
Yeah.
like film industry. Not everybody becomes a star.
Yeah.
So can you share what has been your experience about entrepreneurship and what are the right expectations to have before somebody jumps into entrepreneurship?
I think there are four factors when I look at it. One is that you should know what you're good at, as an entrepreneur. See, most of the people, they don't know how to differentiate between entrepreneurship and investment. Like being an investor is a completely different ball game. But being an entrepreneur, I should know what I'm good at. You know, and that's the most important thing, and which I should be loving to do that, whatever it is. Number one, and number two is that particular activity, I should check whether that particular activity has got any need in the market. Can it solve any problem in the market? I know there are the new version of entrepreneurship where I have seen many startups are searching around for problems.
Hmm.
What problem I can solve. I think that's not the right way. You cannot solve any problems in the world. You are good in doing something, and with that kind of capacity, can you find out something which you can solve? There is a need. Can you identify a need? Okay.
Right.
And the question number three is that, is there any commercial value attached to it? Now, suppose if I'm going to solve that problem, if there is no commercial value attached, it's going to be a social service. So
Hmm.
if I'm going to solve the problem and if I can see that there's a commercial value I can derive out of it, that's the third question. And the fourth question is that, do I have the capacity and the knowledge to do it? Because maybe that I love doing something, okay, but I don't have the capacity and knowledge to do it. And that is also an important factor. So once you start plotting these four things in four quadrants, you can start seeing that where you fit in. What I love to do, what I'm good in doing, number one. Number two is, do I have the expertise and the knowledge to do it? Or
Hmm.
can I acquire that knowledge and expertise and I can be an expert in that? Number three, is there a market? Is there a need? Is there a pain which is associated with this in the market? Or can I fill any kind of problems? Can I solve any problems using this? And number four, can it derive any commercial value out of it? So when these four things come together, it's a success formula. That's what I have seen.
Got it. Uh, well, on this note, I think we will close the session. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Sajeev, and it was a pleasure to have you on our platform. And I would
Thank
say
you. Thank you. Yeah.
my best wishes for Vieroots.
My best wishes to your ELI, because I know that it's inspiring a lot of people who are getting into entrepreneurship, taking their journey, and always keep this in mind for all those people that it is venture. In English language, venture means risk. So as long
Hmm.
whenever you are getting in a venture, you are taking a risk. So welcome to the
Absolutely.
world of risk.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Sajeev.
Thank you. Thanks so much.